Welcome everyone. Everybody's welcome. There's a seat for everybody in this house. And blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who has granted a mission to Jesus School, sustains its staff and faculty, its children and their families, and invited us here to celebrate this occasion. Jesus School, now 25 years as a school, reborn. Reborn after its supporting congregation closed its doors in 1993. How can we thank you, Lord, for every day of these 25 years? Every day, people like Immaculate Heart Sister Ellen and Jesuit Father Neil bring to Jesus children and their families their love and their skillful presence. But these years started in uncertainty. A school would have died without the neighborhood grandparents and parents who encouraged us to trust in the Spirit. It would have died without the love, the hope, and the energy of our honoree this evening, Wynne Churchill. Blessed are we to know him, and blessed are we to experience his personal encouragement, his creative energy, and his support down to this day. And blessed are all those persons, many with us tonight from both Christian and Jewish faith traditions, who joined with Wynne to sustain the life of the Jesus School. Whenever we at Jesu thank your Spirit, O God, we praise you for revealing to us the sacredness of Jesu's children. While we take pride in offering a comprehensive, innovative education, the children inspire us with their joyful desire to transcend every form of poverty. We learn from them as they respond to ignorance and prejudice with childlike wisdom and welcoming. We learn from them as they share with one another and with us a legacy primarily of their African American spiritual and personal resources. Now on this occasion, O God, bless our companionship and our breaking of bread together as one community. Finally, we ask you, Lord, to bless us and teach us as we serve all those in need. May God's Spirit continue to lead us to mend our broken world. I ask us all now to repeat after me 2 words. Alleluia, amen. Alleluia, amen.
you, Father Burr, Mr. Ratliff, and the Jesu Gospel Choir. Good evening. My name is Vandalyn, and I'm excited to be your host for Jesu School's 25th Anniversary Gala. Tonight we celebrate 25 years since Jesu became an independent Catholic school. We come together to honor the leadership, dedication, and heroism of Mr. Winston Churchill. I am proud to be tonight's host. My family has a long history at Jesu School. My grandma Arlena was a parishioner at the Church of the Jesu. She fought hard to keep Jesu School open when the parish was being closed. My mother and my sister are graduates of Jesu. I am a proud member of the class of 2021. Tonight we celebrate Jesu School impact on thousands of children from North Philadelphia. Jesu changes lives and Jesu works. Tonight's featured speaker will share his Jesu story. Daryl Shore was in 8th grade in 1993 when Jesu transitioned from a parish to an independent school. Daryl's path to success began at Jesu. After graduating Jesu, he attended Westtown's Friends School. He then went on to Emory and earned advanced degrees from Clark University in Atlanta and Johns Hopkins. Daryl is now Director of Inclusive Communities at Prudential, a new position created just last month for him. All of us at Jesu School are proud of his achievements. Please welcome Daryl Shore, Jesu School class of 1994.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. For those who I haven't had the pleasure to meet, my name is Daryl Shore, and I am a proud graduate of Jesu School. Today, I spend a lot of my time working in New York, where I focus on finance and corporate social responsibility. But tonight, I have the honor of telling you about my experience at Jesu. My mom enrolled me in Jesu in kindergarten, and I went through Jesu up until 8th grade as a scholarship student. A little bit about me. I was born in North Philly to parents who suffered through alcohol addiction. Their addiction eventually led to their inability to adequately provide for me. However, when I didn't have a safe place to stay, Father Neil, Burr, and Sister Ellen let me sleep in the rectory or the convent. When I didn't have lunch money, they made sure I could still eat in the cafeteria. They bought me clothes for dress down days so that I didn't have to wear my uniform and look different from the other students who were dressed down. They took me to doctor's appointments, and I could spend tonight going down a list of things that they did for me. However, more importantly, they kept me safe, made me feel wanted, and loved. Along with the other Jesu teachers and staffs, they also gave me an incredible education, one that allowed me to succeed in high school, college, graduate school, and today in my career. But my Jesu education extended far beyond the classroom. Jesu taught me to have a strong moral compass and a sense of purpose. At Jesu, I learned that my worth as a person has nothing to do with whether I came from a wealthy family or had a lot of material things. Rather, my worth is how I treat myself and how I treat other people. Jesu taught me to believe in myself and to give myself unconditional love and respect. Jesu also taught me to extend that unconditional love and respect to others, to treat all people with decency and kindness, and to take my blessings and use them to bless others. One other thing I got from Jesu was my dad, Mark Solomon, who I met at Jesu 25 years ago when I was giving him a tour of the school, and he was working along fiercely with wind to keep the school open. When I was 14, I moved in with him, and thanks to him, I totally had a different childhood than I otherwise could have dreamed of. I had a safe, stable, and loving childhood. And in addition to that, a wonderful family, including my awesome mother, Paula Solomon, and my two awesome younger sisters, Leah and Sarah Solomon. You know, when I reflect on this point in my life, I really do believe that the love, support, and education that I received from Jesu is the foundation for what I've been able to accomplish. Whether it's serving on a local community board in Harlem or in my current work at Prudential Financial. You know, I want to share a funny story with you about the impact that Jesu had on me. I remember this day when Sister Ellen called me down to her office, and I said, okay, I'm in trouble again. And she sat me down, she said, Darryl, I wanted to tell you that the scores for the standardized test came back, and you scored higher than anyone else in this school. But when I look at your report card, it does not reflect that. In that moment, she basically told me that if I applied myself, I could accomplish anything. And no one had really told me that in my life. And I don't think anyone had seen the potential in me until at that point. But Sister Ellen, I want you to know that I took those words to heart, and I've held them over the years. So Sister Ellen, wherever you are, I know you're somewhere in here, I thank you a million times over for believing in me and teaching me to believe it in myself. So fast forward today, as I mentioned, I work at Prudential Financial, where I manage the firm's inclusive community strategies and investments. And in this capacity, I'm responsible for deploying over more than $50 million of capital to help individuals and communities who lack access to basic goods and services be able to thrive. I've been working at the intersection of finance and community and economic development since I moved to New York 9 years ago. And when I ask myself, why am I drawn to work that benefits others, I always end up coming back to Jesu and my dad. And the reality that they leveled the playing field for me so that I was able to shine. In the same way that they gave me opportunities, I now use my work and my personal life to try to give opportunities to others. Because sadly, there's only one Jesu, but there are tons of Darryl Shores out there. Kids with enormous potential who need a place like Jesu to help them find their way in the world, to let them show the world what they can do when given a chance to shine. So, enough about me, because tonight's not about me. Tonight we're here to celebrate and honor Win Churchill with the 2019 Jesu Spirit Medal. The awarding of the Spirit Medal was established in 2006 to recognize extraordinary efforts of individuals who support Jesu with their time, talent, and treasure. The Spirit Medal is Jesu's highest honor, and I must say that we're lucky to have past recipients here with us tonight. So I would like to take a moment and ask those past Jesu Spirit Medal recipients to stand up and be recognized. So, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your commitment to Jesu. 25 years ago, Win Churchill made a bold decision to pull together the resources, vision, and leadership to save Jesus School from closing. As a result of WIN's leadership and commitment, WIN has changed the lives of thousands of kids. I can personally attest to the fact that he has changed my life forever. For it was WIN who brought Mark Solomon to Jesu. And little did you know, WIN, that on that fateful day, you were introducing me to my future father and family. So WIN, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your leadership, vision, dedication, and overall faith in Jesu and in Jesu's mission and its children's. You are an inspiration to me and all of us in this room. So I would now like to bring back the amazing Jesu Gospel Choir for a special tribute to WIN. WIN, congratulations.
We are gathered to pay tribute to Mr. Win Churchill for his heroic efforts to save Jesus School 25 years ago. Mr. Churchill, tonight it's about you. You have changed the lives of so many children just like me. You have put us on a path to a bright and successful future. Because of you, Mr. Churchill, next year I will be attending Archbishop John Carroll High School.
Because of you, Mr. Churchill, next year I will be attending the Haverford School for Boys.
Because of you, Mr. Churchill, I will be attending Little Flower High School for Girls.
Because of you, Mr. Churchill, next year I will attend the Shipley School.
Because of you, Mr. Churchill, next year I will attend the Boys Land Charter School of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Because of you, Mr. Churchill, I will be attending Crystal Ray Philadelphia High School next year.
Because of you, Mr. Churchill, I will be Jesu's first ever graduate to attend Episcopal Academy.
Because of you, Mr. Churchill, I'm a proud Jesu graduate. I am currently the senior class president at Shipley, and next year I will be attending Princeton University. Thank you for everything you've done for all of us.
525,600 minutes, 525,000 journeys to plan, 525,600 minutes. Tonight we say thanks to a wonderful friend.
He believed in Jesus and helped us survive so that we may grow and learn and thrive.
Sun out, sing out, the story never ends. Let's celebrate, remember Jesus and a friend. It's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you. We thank you. We thank you when. We thank you when. We thank you when.
A spring day in 1993 was full of good weather, but bad news was about to ring out. The Jesu parish would be closed, and it left the school in serious jeopardy. The school had leadership, students, and staff, but lost all funding from the church. Father George Burr reached out to a former high school classmate and now a business leader, Winston Churchill.
He tells me that on the way home from this meeting with me that he got on the phone right away and he called up some friends of his who were in the investment business.
I said to him, well, one day I'll go with you to the school and I'll tell you what I think you need to do. And he said to me, Mark, I haven't got time for one day. You need to come in now. I said, what do you mean now? He says, now. And I remember walking in and seeing these kids going to lunch, walking 2 by 2 by 2. I was just really blown away by the decorum. And so I said, take me to a 4th grade classroom.
Winston Churchill would repeat this tour many times over the years.
When you walked into a small school in North Philadelphia, you had the vision and the wisdom not to look at the building or the neighborhood, but to look into the eyes of the children that needed you. You let the children touch your heart. You jumped in with great enthusiasm and energy, gathered a number of your friends, and made a difference.
So the first time that I walked into the Jesu, I walked in with zero preconceived notions. And so as we walked from classroom to classroom, what really struck me is the impact that Win has actually had on every one of these child's lives. Each child stood up, introduced themselves, and explained why Jesu was important to them.
He is the father of the school. And it wouldn't exist were it not for him. It would have been gone.
Decades later, Jesu stands as a leader in education around the country, serving pre-K through 8th grade. The students hardly want to leave upon graduation, but they do find themselves accepted to the best high schools, then colleges. Jesu is playing a role in making future leaders by impacting thousands of children since its rebirth in 1993. Win Churchill's impact extends beyond just Jesu.
I want to share with you a few things about Win. Win is a gentleman in every sense of the word. More than anything else, he treats all people with great respect. He makes time to help direct young people in the importance of education, building confidence, and never ever giving up on their hopes and dreams. He's an amazing dad, stepdad, and pop-up, and he's always there to listen. Wynn feels that every being is determined by the measure and the sense of not thinking about oneself, but others.
The way that he lives his life is a way that's going to create a legacy because people are going to follow what he's done. He wants to enact these ideals to help better the world, the people around him and me and you, to make the world a better place.
He believes helping one person might not change the world, but it could change the world for one person. He only sees the positive in life. Each morning he wakes up and says, "What good can I do today?" He lives in the moment, always looks forward, and always says, "You'll have so much more to live for." I'm so proud of you, just not tonight, but all that you've accomplished and in seeing the big picture for these children.
Reality is that what you've created at Jesu has enabled thousands of inner city youth to become lawyers, doctors, teachers, nurses. You've given them the educational and the social skills that they need to succeed in life. And by your example, they know that one man with a generous heart, a quick mind, and a compassionate soul can make a huge difference in the world.
You know, I would say one of his proudest accomplishments in life is being able to bring such a diverse group of people together in support of Jesu. I would say that, you know, what he's looking for tonight is not so much a commendation of his work as much it is an encouragement to get interested in the mission, get interested in these wonderful children, and try to figure out, what's not so much what the past 25 years have been about, but what's the next 25 years about.
Mr. Rogers has said, anyone who does anything for a child is a hero to me. Wynn, you're my hero. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 2019 Spirit Medal recipient, Winston Churchill.
I always remember President Reagan, and they put him up there, and he said, "What are my lines? What are my lines?" Seriously, though, this is spectacular. I mean, I'm absolutely thankful and amazed and blown away, really. So thank you all so much. Now the prepared portion. Ellen has always wanted me to have a bar mitzvah, but this is beyond. Thank you, honey, and thank all of you. And special thanks to my co-founder, Mark Solomon, and to Darrell Shore for his inspirational words tonight. Darrell is a true example of Jesu's success. I would also like to recognize the 3 or 4 people who have been serving the children and their families at the school for the entire 25 years. Sister Ellen, Father Neil, Laura Weatherly, and Tyrone Myers. 25 years. Ellen and I love to collect the sayings of wise men and women. In my calendar for today's date is a saying of Colin Powell. A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. Unbeknownst to me, Ellen also has a collection of what she calls winisms. Stuff you say to yourself or your children when things are tough. Only look forward, never backward. Lasting buildings are built one stone at a time. The more you give away, the more you have left. Life is not a spectator sport. All of our children have heard that, over and over again. Luck favors the prepared mind. That's not particularly original. You must start education in early grades. It's a gating event to life. Winisms, can you imagine? Only a beautiful wife would collect such things. But anyway, this is really not about me, as some of us have been saying, and it's true. I had an idea 25 years ago which seemed pretty obvious, that a school like this was needed and possible. But all the rest is a tribute to years of hard work and, of course, the kids. And maybe the execution of the idea is really the key, since 25 years have passed and Jesu is still unique. Our mission at Jesu has a lot of relevance in this changing and somewhat frightening world. Sometimes civilization is maintained in the little things, picking up a piece of trash on the sidewalk, saying thank you to the mailman, or getting a fresh haircut before family dinner because you know it will make your grandma happy. And it's important for keeping peace sometimes. Jesu's work includes these little things: civility, manners, respect, humility. Our work is also about bigger and harder things, as our mission statement says. We are here to help our students transcend the forms of poverty by providing a comprehensive, relevant, and innovative education in a rapidly changing world. So this is why we need smart, well-intentioned people, charitable people, to help us continuously adapt and improve. My highest achievement in service to Jesu's mission has been to help the school recruit some of our region's most generous and thoughtful people to join our mission. Many of my best recruits are here tonight. It speaks for itself. And for a formerly parish school located in North Philadelphia, it is a pretty amazing coalition. An exceptional contingent of good Catholics, Protestants, Muslims, and Jews. For those of you that know me well, it represents the major aspects of my life in one room. Incredible. Thank you all for sharing in my one maybe obvious but good idea. Now I'm getting the pages all confused here. There was a loose leaf book up here, but I didn't notice it earlier. So. My earliest memories start at age 4 or 5 when my father was drafted into the Army and left my mother and the 3 of us in West Oak Lane to become a sergeant under General Patton prior to D-Day. He survived and returned, thank God. It was a hard time for our family, but many others had it far, far worse. Many of your families and families around the world experienced unimaginable horrors. The atrocities of the Holocaust occurred in Germany, Eastern Europe, and the Soviet Union, and countless other millions died as well. Post-World War II, the rest of my life has been an incredible journey. I got a bunch of scholarships and have been fortunate to have lived through one of the most remarkable periods of material progress in human history. But the fair shot at prosperity and political access was not for all. Daryl's reference to the level playing field. My first job as a lawyer was spent working for Bobby Kennedy in the Department of Justice in Montgomery and Selma, Alabama. and that was one hell of an experience. In my lifetime, significant progress was made toward voting rights equality, not enough to declare victory, but still significant political progress. A couple of miles from here, and almost 250 years ago, our founders had a debate about the meaning of fairness. This resulted in our founding principle that all men and women are created equal. In today's political dialogue, the debate about the meaning of that comes down to the question of the difference between equal opportunity and material equality. Here at Jesu, we don't have to get into that. We believe that life is competitive and that a good grade school education is the gating event to life, as I said. Without a good grade school foundation, there can be no access to Central, Boys Latin, Masterman, Temple, Drexel, or Harvard, or Princeton. No level playing field. To quote Martin Luther King's paraphrase of Theodore Parker's words, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. That was optimistic, and we need optimism. Because now, as in the era between the two world wars, we have huge new threats to equal opportunity from hate and bigotry. More sticky pages here. A politics of fear, resentment, and anger has begun to rear its ugly head worldwide, while the existence of the internet has made this social disease as viral as virtue had once been. This in a time of the greatest material prosperity in the history of the human race. But how do we go from the macro to the micro? This seems to me to be a very important problem for us to be considering if we are in the Jesu school tradition truly to be and produce men and women for others. Tikkun Olam for short. Collectively, the sponsors, teachers, and administrators, all of us in this room tonight, who work toward the fulfillment of Jesu's mission, have honored the call to a responsibility not only for our own moral, spiritual, and material welfare, but also for the welfare of others, society at large. Daryl's life is a shining example of what we were talking about. While he had many choices about a career in the highly competitive field of the financial markets, he has chosen to spend his life dealing with lives and not just money. And as he and all of us here this evening know, the work is never truly done. It requires continual care and maintenance. This brings me to a final question that I think all of us should be thinking about. What sort of education should be offered at all different levels in our area, from our beautiful Jesu school to places like Masterman, Cristo Rey, Boys Latin, Shipley, Baldwin, Penn, Drexel, Temple, etc., and likewise in other cities around the country? What is the meaning of fair to our disadvantaged children in a rapidly changing society and job market in the 21st century? The answer to that is not that obvious. So what do? Sit back and wring our hands? Yogi Berra, a final saying, Yogi Berra had a saying about this. When you come to the fork in the road, take it. Taking the fork in the road is really about overcoming fear and indecision. He who hesitates is lost, that sort of thing. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, head rabbi of the Hebrew congregations of the British Commonwealth, put the same thought this way. One who fears tomorrow does not share his bread with others. But he who is willing to divide his food with a stranger is capable of fellowship and hope. Food shared is no longer the bread of affliction. So in conclusion, I want to say that I feel pretty confident, pretty optimistic. Jesu is a microcosm and a model where we all together have created several entire generations of Jesu's students who, like Daryl, are out or will soon be out in this fascinating but challenging world, making it a better place. The answer, I think, is that the good will prevail. It is way better to light one little candle than to curse the darkness. For 25 years, Jesu has lit the candle for thousands of children, providing a path toward a brighter future. Jesu is a family, and at the heart of what makes a better society is a strong family core. I am grateful for my family, Ellen, John, Noah, Stephen, Dunham, and Henry. I am grateful for my extended family, for all of you and other wonderful friends of the school and of Ellen and myself. And I am grateful to all of you who are part of the Jesu family tonight, helping bring more brightness and hope to our teeter-totter world, one beautiful child at a time. Thank you.
Even before Jesu School became independent 25 years ago, the school made an impact on everyone who walked through our doors. You might not know this includes Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's own Senator Bob Casey. In 1983, while serving in the Jesuits Volunteer Corps, Senator Casey was assigned to teach 5th grade math at Jesu. He also served as the boys' varsity basketball coach. Senator Casey often speaks of the transformative experience he had teaching at Jesu. We are honored to have Senator Casey with us tonight to say a few words.
Well, good evening and thank you very much. I'm going to first please give a round of applause for Vandalyn. What a great job she did tonight. I first of all want to thank those who made this possible, this dinner, and I'm especially honored that I've been invited to speak for just a few moments. I want to thank all those who made these last 25 years possible at Jesu, and I'll get to Win in a moment. But Sister Ellen and those who lead Jesu, the board, all the friends of the Jesu who are here, I'm so grateful to have this chance. I want to commend and salute, of course, Win Churchill and Ellen on this night. Go ahead. When I consider, and I walked in here a little late, and I was sitting at the table, Jim and Lynn Brown. Jim's my old chief of staff, and his wife Lynn, and I haven't even met the members of our table because we were watching the film, my wife Teresa and I, as we came in. And that film was moving, very emotional for me, because every time they showed the picture of a child, I was thinking about the children that I taught, the 5th graders in 1982 and 83. None of you were around then, but it wasn't that long ago. And the 8th graders that I coached in basketball. But when I think of what you've done for Jesu, what you've done all these years, when you stepped up to the plate with your friends to make it possible to continue the mission of the Jesu, I was thinking of the lines from a great hymn, a hymn entitled, "We Are Called." And you remember the refrain, we are called to act with justice, we are called to love tenderly, we're called to serve one another and to walk humbly with our God. That is a good description of a life well lived. And when we think of Win Churchill's contributions tonight, that he has been about the business of justice, that he has served one another, and he's walked humbly with God. And I'm grateful that I was here tonight to see that tribute film and to listen to Win's words. So, Win, God bless you in a job well done. Thank you. Also want to commend and salute the great mission that brings us in this room tonight. It really started many years ago, really generations ago, and it's a combination of two great sacred organizations, the Jesuits and the IHM Sisters, both of whom I benefited from throughout my life. The mission of social justice, the mission of faith, the mission of hope, and of course of love. And the way that the Jesu has made that possible in its pursuit of academic excellence for the children, spiritual nourishment, and social development. And when you think about it today, I work in a place where sometimes there's a an exercise in lowering expectations, an exercise in trying to dampen the enthusiasm for progress. And we need to do some work in the place that I spend a lot of my time in. But the Jesu has been the polar opposite of that. Just one commitment that it's made, that every child, every single child can learn. Thank goodness the Jesu has made that possible. Finally, let me tell you about a lesson I learned long after the year that I taught at the Jesu. I happened to be a candidate for public office starting in 2005. And I was sitting in a campaign office in that year. I guess it was maybe the summer of 2005. And I was in a small room making fundraising calls. You've never been a part of this, I know. But as I was making those calls, a staff member walked in and interrupted and said, before you get back on the phone, there's a young woman in the office who was walking by our campaign office, and she recognized your name, and she thought that you might have been her teacher. And of course, immediately I'm trying to think, which of those fifth graders is in the other office? And this is now decades later. This fifth grader was now about 32 or 33 years old. And I said, well, what is her name? And he said, I don't remember her last name, but I heard her first name very clearly. Her name is Arkesha. Of course, for me, when you're a teacher, those of you who have done this, and I only did it 1 year, you call the roll every day. You're constantly seeing those names, and you'll never forget them the rest of your lives. I can remember Arkesha and Jonathan. I can remember Raheem and Jose and so many others who were in our classroom. But the image of Arkesha at that moment stopped me in my tracks. I immediately thought of the most beautiful little child I'd ever seen in my life. She was a fifth grader who came into school every day in a beautiful, immaculate uniform. Her hair was perfectly braided every morning. She was polite. She was kind. She always did her homework. She always tried to do what was right. And I found out years later, decades later, when we got to know each other again, that those years weren't as rosy as I thought they were. She had a lot of challenges in her life that year and many years after. Challenges I couldn't even imagine in my life. So I said, well, let's bring her in. I want to talk to her. So they brought her in, and we hugged, and then she began to kind of update me on her life. But I tell you this story because not long after that first reunion, the two of us had lunch in the campaign office. We were just talking about what I was doing, what she was doing, and I knew she had two jobs. One was to work in a dentist's office and to kind of manage the office, as I recall. But the second job she had was to be a foster parent. And then she began to describe to me the lives of the children that she was doing that work with. They would come into her house, and she would have meals with them. And these were children who were the victims of withering abuse, indescribable, horrific abuse that I could never do justice to if I tried to describe it. And she was telling me about her work, and I turned to her just as we were talking, and I said, Arkesha, how do you do that work? I couldn't do that work for a half an hour. I don't know how you can do that work. These are children who were beaten and broken, and she was providing a measure of love and comfort and hope. Without even skipping one beat, she turned to me, looked me in the eye, and said, sometimes our burdens can become our blessings. Sometimes our burdens can become our blessings. What a lesson for those of us who think, it's a tough day, things aren't going too well for you, you're having a bad day, or you think that you've got problems. She taught me in that moment a couple of things. First and foremost, that she got an education at Jesu School. That's one thing she reminded me of. She also taught me another lesson, what it means to serve, what it means to really be a servant, or we hope a servant leader. And I was blessed to have had that opportunity to have that reunion with the Jesu alumni from that great school. And so I know that is but one example that we could point to of the thousands of children who have gone through that school and what you all have meant to their lives, how you've lifted them up so they can go forward, so they can succeed, so they can reach heights that probably none of us could have ever have imagined for them or maybe even for our own lives. So on this night when we pay tribute to Win Churchill and the enduring mission of Jesu, I want to thank you as well for making it possible for us to recognize our blessings. God bless you and thank you.
Years ago, while volunteering at Jesu School, Miss Sue Martinelli-Shea had the bright idea to start a ballroom dancing programs for students in Philadelphia. Dancing with the Students was born right here at Jesu. Today, the program is in 22 schools in Philadelphia and Kentucky. Miss Shea has blessed Jesu with her time, talent, and love. Over the years, more than 200 students have participated in Dancing with the Students at Jesu. They learned confidence, teamwork, and respect. We knew that we couldn't celebrate this exciting evening without our dancers. Please welcome members of Jesu's Dancing with the Students, along with several of the program's alumni.
I know I don't understand just how you look
Hello, my name is Brian Carter, and I'm the president and CEO of Jesus School. And thank you for joining us this evening, as this is the largest gala we've ever held with 500 people in attendance. So thank you so much. And it's only fitting that this would be our largest gala as we're celebrating our 25th anniversary and win. Sister Ellen Convey, our principal and my partner in school leadership, and I want to take several moments to thank a couple of people. And first, thank you to my predecessors as president of Jesus School, Father George Burr, our founding president, and Chris Beck, the successor to Father Burr. Father Burr and Chris, your courage to fight for our children makes this night possible, and I'm privileged to continue the work that you started. A special thank you goes to our Gala Committee for helping to drive the awareness of the Gala as well as the awareness of Jesus School with your friends and colleagues. I'd also like to thank our honorary co-chairs, Daryl Shore, class of 1994, and Father George Burr. You are a significant part of the Jesus success story. To our Gala co-chairs, Susan Martinelli-Shea and Tad Decker and Candy Decker, thank you for your work in helping to make the Gala a success. Now, I may be biased, but to the best Board of Trustees in the city of Philadelphia, thank you so much. Your only concern is always, what more can we do for the children? To our dedicated faculty and staff who lives the mission each and every day and is focused on growing our children, not only academically, but spiritually as well as in character, thank you so much. To our Vice President of Development, Rob Weinstein, and his staff, just 3 words. You may have to count the words, but this is what I'm going to say. You're simply the best, and I appreciate you. During the cocktail reception, we were treated to the musical sounds of 2 of our alumni, Isaiah Lee, class of 2016, and Christian Hankerson, class of 2015. Thank you, Isaiah and Christian. And now I must recognize an unsung hero, Ellen Churchill. Ellen, thank you for your tireless work and focus on the details of the gala. And Ellen, as you know well, I appreciate you.
And we just have one more thank you tonight, which I wrote a speech about, but now I can't find in my pocket. But I just want to, one of our favorite teachers, not that you're all not favorites, is retiring this year, and she deserves special recognition. Linda is the art teacher that for years has treated us to that art show, the art auction. But I have one special thing to say about Linda. You all surely realize that the children do not always behave the way they're behaving tonight. And so some of us are less consistent in good behavior, let's say. And so they might be spending time in, time out. And every day, at least once a day, Linda will look at one of these children in trouble and she'll say to me, I just love that kid. So we're going to miss Linda, and so will they.
I just want to share a few more thoughts, if you would, please. There's power in the word yes. And 25 years ago, the future of Jesus was uncertain. And when it was suggested by a friend of yours that you visit Jesus as you might want to help the school and help your former classmate at the prep, Father Burr. And the altering force of a simple yes places us here today celebrating our 25th anniversary and celebrating you. So Wynn, thank you for saying yes to our children. Ellen and Wynn, thank you for continuing to say yes to our children and for our children. I appreciate you. there are times when one receives what is really an offer you can't refuse. And this happened to Jesu School in June of 2005 when Father Bruce Bittinger, then the president of St. Joseph Prep, approached Chris Beck, the president of Jesu, and offered a lease for Jesu to occupy the school that is our current home. And the terms of that lease were 50 years for $2 a year. So we still have 31 years left on that lease. And there's a saying at Jesu that Jesu isn't Jesu without you, and that is certainly true as it relates to our friends, the Prep. And so I'd like to invite Father John Swope, the president of St. Joseph's Prep, to the stage to accept this plaque as an expression of our appreciation.
Thank you, Brian.
And I'll just read what's on the plaque. There's the logo of St. Joseph's Prep as well as the logo of Jesu next to one another, and it says, St. Joseph's Prep and Jesu School, partners in developing men and women for others. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Brian. So you get a shot?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Father Swope, when you're ready to sign that 50-year extension, I'm happy to do so. As we move to the live auction and I introduce our auctioneer, please keep the theme, yes, in mind by raising your bid paddle. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alcidair Nickel, Chairman and Director of Fine Arts at the Freeman Auction House. Thank you very much.